and welcome to Rate My Cigar. So today we're going to be talking about cuts and different types of cut on a cigar and different cutters. So first of all, obviously everyone goes there. When you first start smoking, you will pick up a cheap plastic cutter. An honest opinion, I think we're both in the same boat here. The best way of using a plastic cutter is probably to throw it in the bin.
The thing is, I started off with one. I used one for a couple of months, and then I spent a little bit more money and bought a better quality.
And let me guess, that is because you ruined a couple of cigars with it.
No, I didn't.
I have personally done.
I ruined most of the cigars, to be honest.
No, not just a couple.
No, it was terrible because the blade is so cheap it bluntens after 3 or 4 cigar cuts, and to be honest,
the first cut they're okay.
Yeah,
but
then you've walked away from the shop, so you're buggered. But I would upgrade as soon as possible. So
the thing is, you haven't got to spend a lot to get a much better cutter. For instance, this is obviously just a straight guillotine cut. Now, this is a cheap cutter from a Temu, is it?
Yeah.
So it's basically like an online retailer, similar to like Alibaba or like the main Chinese sites. So it's a very expensive cutter. This one is a whole £7.
It cost £7. I've done the review a few days ago. I've actually used this 3 or 4 times now, and it's doing okay. But 3 or 4 cuts, I can't really give it a long review. But the construction of it's really good, and it's going to cut
much better. Yeah.
I can't describe how much better, but like night and day better than that. But yeah.
And sometimes it opens up fully when you push a button. Sometimes it needs a little bit of a helping hand.
See that,
like that.
But that was where I had my hand on it. If I actually don't, you're right.
It's done.
You're right. It's just not great. But £7, you can't go wrong, and it will cut your cigar. Up from £7, you can go.
Probably the Colibri range. You're gonna say. So up from £7 range, you're gonna be looking at like a Colibri straight cutter, or what I would prefer is a basic Colibri V cutter. Now, it depends on what sort of ring gauge you're typically smoking, whether you like sort of smaller ring gauge cigars. Personally, I think I speak for both of us when I say I tend to go for sort of larger ring gauge stuff. Now, straight cuts are okay, but I find that with a larger ring gauge cigar, when you use a V cutter, because you've got that V in, effectively you've got a lot more surface area which is actually open, and I find the draws normally better with a V cutter.
I'm with a V cutter now. This Colibri cutter, I've been using this now. If it's not a year, it's 10, 11 months, and I use it all the time.
They're pretty solid bits of kit as well, the Colibri.
And I think it's still as sharp as it was when I bought it. And I tell you, I'm looking at it, the paint's chipped off of it, it's got scratches all over it, and it is a really good cut still. That was 30-something quid when I bought it. Now they're about 40.
About 40 something, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the V cutter. They do a straight one as well, and the straight one is just as good.
Yeah.
There's other cutters in between this one and the next one we're going to talk about, but the next one again.
This is like more your high end.
Yeah. Now this is the double. This has got the V and the straight, and this one I believe is about 160 to 180 pounds, something like that. Now, very, very clean, precise cut. You can't fool this cutter. This isn't the sort of cutter you just throw in your pocket, and this is more a refined cutter.
I've got one of these as well, and I do like them. So the V is, again, incredibly crisp. It always works. I've never had mine jam up. I've never had any problems with it. Again, the straight cutter again on there is very, very crisp as well. It always gives you a fantastic cut. It always takes just the cap off. It doesn't sort of muller your cigars like some of the cheaper brands do.
It's almost like precision with this cutter.
Yeah.
And I would go, the V on this and the straight cutters are very close. If I was struggling, or I wanted to be careful with my money, or I couldn't justify spending on this, these Colibri cutters are still very good. These Dupont cutters, are superb. You're still going to get the same out of your cigar, but it's all about what you want in your pocket.
Your personal enjoyment as well. Whether you can afford to go for a nicer cutter or you just want a cheap everyday,
So that's cutters really, guys. There's not much else you can say.
Other than a punch. Now, punch is something we haven't gone through actually.
Okay.
Punch, now, they are still one of my preferred cuts. Well, basically, I've used punches since I started smoking. I got given a punch from one of my friends when I kindly got a few cigars off him. And for smaller ring gauge stuff, fantastic. For bigger ring gauge stuff, obviously you tend to sort of like do like a series of cuts in it to actually open the cap up properly. Because like I say, some of the punches like that, they're about 6 to 8 mil and they're not really massive. And obviously in a larger ring gauge, you do need a
You can buy them separately on a little keychain, even on eBay or Amazon. They're literally like £3 or £5. They're not a lot of money.
Unless you want to get like a really nice one. Like they do some like really nice billet brass, stainless, etc. ones, but they're probably in the region of probably talking tops of about £50.
Yeah. Personally, I would go with the V cut or the straight cut. The punch is really a last resort for me. I started off with punch. Well, I actually went straight cut, then punch, then straight cut, then back. Then I'm now on a V cut. It's all about personal preference, really.
And there's one more other type of cut. It's when you leave your cutter at home and you use your teeth.
I've never done that.
Some people swear by it. Some people do swear by it. Nibble the very, very end of the cap
I bet they do.
off.
I bet they swear saying, bloody hell, I've wrecked my cigar.
Again.
But yeah, so there we go. So that's cutters. Not much else we can say on the matter, really. So
obviously, it'd be interesting to hear your opinions on what you prefer and why. So obviously, if you do have a preferred method, please feel free to drop us a comment. And as always, please hit the subscribe button and a like. Thank you very much.